here to talk about the Salix Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme monthly monitoring reporting. I'm joined by my colleague Hayley, and we'll be going through the process and the purpose of the monthly monitoring reporting for the Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme, and then running through a little template of how it looks. So you will want to know what the monthly monitoring report is for. So every month, Salix reports the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, which is the sponsoring department for the Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme, about the ongoing status of the active projects. And much of the data that's used to inform them comes from the monthly monitoring reports that we collect from clients each month. It also has a forecast tab, which is key to see for Salix to see how much it needs to draw down from central government each month, and therefore informs how much we can pay out each month to clients. And it also informs us of any upcoming change requests, expected completion dates, and conditions closures, which all help assist our in-house technical teams' understanding of their future workloads. What is the monthly monitoring report? Well, we'll be going through a template, but it's an Excel document tailored for every public sector decarbonisation scheme project, and is used to provide Salix with an overview of where the project is every month. We expect these to be provided by the 15th of each month, and that covers the previous month's 11th to the 10th of that current month. So for example, the MMR that is expected to be provided for the 15th of June 2023 will be expected to cover any progress made between the 11th of May and the 10th of June. If a project is completed, is paid out in full, but not quite complete on site, we still expect MMRs to be provided until final commissioning. Please note, if, for example, the 15th of the month falls on a weekend or a bank holiday, we would expect the MMR to be provided the first working day before that. So if, for example, the 15th of June was Saturday, we would expect it on the 14th, which would be the Friday. Now I'm going to pass over to my colleague Hayley, who is going to cover the forecasting.
Thank you, Charles. So your monthly monitoring report forms an important part of how you will claim your grant funding from Salix and how you receive those payments. So you'll need to use your MMR to update your payment forecast each month. And this section needs to be updated with the forecast of when you will claim payments from Salix, not your cash flow forecast. There will be a separate webinar that is available that goes through the payments process for your PSDS project in more detail. But just to give a brief overview of how the payment process works, your MMR will be used to forecast payments from Salix. You will then see on the MMR the last date you can submit that payment request from Salix and the date you receive that payment. So important things to be aware of as part of your MMR. Your actual payments plus your forecast must always equal your grant allocation unless you have an underspend. And if you do have an underspend, it's important that you discuss this with your Salix relationship manager. As we move through the scheme, your actuals should be submitted accurately, and the corresponding payment requests should match the forecast as closely as possible. Salix will use the forecasting provided in your MMR to provide a forecast to central government in order to draw down appropriate funds to make payments to the grant recipients. Therefore, it's really important that the forecast is as accurate as possible. And if forecasts are inaccurate, it can impact our ability to make payments to you if there are not sufficient funds available. We'll go through the forecasting tab in more detail in just a moment.
Thank you, Hayley. Now we'll be running through the template itself. This is what it will look like. It's an Excel document, and it will be spread across several tabs here. The first tab is a guidance page, which will give you information about when it needs to be filled out and how to fill it out. We won't be running through this because we'll be providing the guidance in this call, in this video. So the first tab is the Step 1 Measure Progress tab. this is a blank MMR. However, it will give you a list of every work that your application includes, including the building and an amount of savings, costs, etc. All the blue sections of the MMR are automatically filled out from the information that we have on record, so you don't need to worry about updating those. So on this tab, the two sections we look to have filled out are the status tab, where you provide what the current project milestone is. So it goes from project mobilization, approval complete, pre-design complete, all the way down to commission on site. If there is an element that is no longer going ahead, we expect a change request to be provided, and more information on that process will come in the future. However, in the meantime, you can set it to no longer going ahead. If there is any commentary required, you can put that out here. That's optional, but if, for example, the status was to regress or leap forward quite dramatically, you may wish to fill that out. Step 2 of the report covers a lot of the potential updates. So again, all these blue sections will be automatically filled out. You can put in the date that you're providing, and that will tell you what the reporting period is. And then you put in the contact. We have a bunch of contacts on record for your project, so they should be listed here. However, if it's a new contact, you have the option to be putting in their details here. This section is about the project status, where you can put whether the project is on track, behind schedule, ahead of schedule, or completed, what the expected practical completion date is. That will be the expected on-site completion date, so not when you fully expect to complete the drawdown of the grant, for example, but the actual commissioning date. So that may be after the grant end date. And here's where you put any comments about what the project status is. His box is for the total internal spend. So this is to reflect the amount that has been spent by the public sector body. It doesn't necessarily match what the grant value you've drawn down is, because many projects will have a client contribution, and it may be that you've spent more than you have yet to claim and you're planning to claim more. This box should be any key updates from the previous period, and there are some prompts here to make you think about what that could include, and then a section for the focus on the next period. This box here is the project milestone status. It will draw down from the measure progress tab here. If you have several project lines, it will be whichever the furthest back project line is. So if you had 2 that were designs complete and 1 was pre-design, it would come up as pre-design. If you have any that are no longer going ahead, it won't impact that. So we just ask that you fill that out as accurately as possible. There will be here's a list for all the milestones. It will give you a % of where these are, depending on the measures progress tab, and you'll be asked to provide what your estimated date for the milestone to be complete and any comments that you want to provide against all this. This section is about measures. Specifically, are any measures no longer going ahead or need to change? If so, please provide the commentary, and you can put whether you expect to submit a change request to reflect that and when you expect to provide it. This box here is for any key risks or issues that you need to flag. So please put those and what you're doing to mitigate those measures, and whether you see it as a high, medium, low risk, etc. If there's been any change to your internal governance, you're expected to reflect it here. So you'll know the authorizing official is required to sign off on any payment requests or any change requests. So please flag those at an early stage. And then last on this tab is the project approvals. So if there's any approvals still being sought for your project, we ask that you flag them here and you provide the date you expect those to be resolved. The next step will have a list of all the all the conditions on your project. So you'll know in your grant offer letter that you will have a lot of conditions linked to your project, and we just here expect you to provide a date for when you expect to provide them for Salix, what your understanding of the condition status is. So all of them will start at outstanding, but once you provided them Salix, you can change it to Salix with Salix review, so we know we're on the same page. And if Salix has confirmed that that's been resolved, you can change it to resolved. And again, here's a space for any comments that you may wish to put. And then the last tab here, I'm going to hand back to Hayley, as it is again on the forecasting section.
Thanks, Charles. So as mentioned earlier, this forms an important part of your payment process. This is what you will use to inform Salix of when you want to receive payments. So just running through this tab, it's important. The first part that is important to fill out is the date completing forecast there. We do expect that you update this every month, and completing the date completing forecast date will also change some of the formatting below, which is quite important. Each month, when you update, if there has been a change to what you previously reported to us in your last forecast, there is a tab just to the right there that says, has the forecast changed since your previous report? And it's important that you change this to yes, just to highlight to us that there has been changes since your last report. The remaining cells here will automatically fill out to tell you what you forecast to date, what you've claimed to date, and how much you therefore still have to forecast. So moving down. This is the key table that you will need to fill out. Across the columns, we've got the payment periods, and then across the rows, we've got the project milestones. So within each payment period, it will tell you the last day to forecast to Salix. So that's the last day you can tell us you want to receive a payment in that period. It then has the last day to submit your payment request. This is the last day you have to submit your full payment request to Salix. And a full payment request must include full evidence of the payment. So this will likely be invoices. Therefore, it's really important at the beginning of your project that you sit down with your contractors and discuss invoicing, because you will only be able to forecast a payment in a period if you will have the full invoices by that date. You can also find further information on our website about the other payment documents that will be needed to submit a full payment request to Salix. You'll then see there it says the date to receive payment from Salix on. So, for example, in period 2, if we take, you have until the 15th of March to forecast that payment. You will then need to submit that full claim to Salix by the 27th of April, and then the day you will receive those funds from Salix will be the 24th of May. So if you wanted to receive payment in May, you would need to forecast that to us in March. So it's just important that you're aware of these dates, when you need to forecast a payment by to be able to receive that payment, and when you need to have those invoices by. If you will not have the invoices by the last day to submit payment request, please move it into a forward payment period. As I mentioned, further up, the date to complete forecast tab is important to fill out because these forecast dates are currently green. If you change it to a date in the future, they will change red to show that they are in the past and you can no longer change those. So once they're in red, please don't change the forecast. However, as we move through the scheme, it is important that those periods that are now an actual, so you have received the payment from Salix, are reflected accurately, so that your actuals plus your forecast equal your grant allocation. It's really important that actuals are submitted accurately to ensure that your future forecast is also accurate. As I mentioned in the rows, we've got the milestones. So when you input a payment forecast into a period, it will ask you to break down that payment by milestone. Within a payment period, you can claim several milestones, and you can also spread a milestone across several payment periods. So whilst we advise that you generally claim a payment once a milestone is complete, this is not a prerequisite and it's not mandatory, so you can spread a milestone across several payment periods. Scrolling down a bit and across to the right, you'll see here, hopefully when we are able to scroll across, at the moment it says on forecast, so that would mean that you've correctly forecast your grant value. If you were to submit less than your grant value into the forecast sheet or more than your grant value, it will tell you that you have an overspend or an underspend. If you do have an underspend on your project, please make sure you have discussed this with your relationship manager so we are aware of how likely the underspend is to occur and the details behind that underspend. You should hopefully never have an overspend on your forecast. If you do have an overspend on your forecast, please review what you've inputted and please make sure that you've not put any of your client contribution in there, or if you can reclaim VAT and therefore it's not included in your grant amount, ensure that you have not included this in your forecast, because your forecast should only be the funds that you're going to claim from Salix and when you're going to claim them. So there is no need to put a payment or amount in every month if you do not wish to. If you can claim payments quarterly, for example, please only put a payment in the quarters that you want to claim a payment for. Likewise, if you wish to claim the total funding at the end of your project, this is fine. You can put the total amounts in the end of your project. And that should cover the main things on the forecasting tab. The last thing just to cover is if you do have an underspend or a major change to your forecast, please input the reason down here so that your relationship manager is aware.
Thank you, Hayley. And then just as a reminder, the monthly monitoring report is expected by the 15th of each month. Please send that directly to your relationship manager. If you do have any questions, you can also flag those with the relationship manager. Thank you for listening to this video. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.